Welcome everyone. Welcome to this comprehensive instruction and introduction to human rights. I'm Dr. Muhammad Al-Wishi, and over the next 3 hours, we'll embark on an enlightening journey exploring one of the most fundamental aspects of our shared humanity rights. This course is offered through the London College of International Studies, and I'm thrilled to be your guide as we explore what human rights are, why they matter, and how they impact every single one of us in our daily lives. Whether you realize it or not, human rights shape the world around you, from the education you're receiving right now to the freedom you express your thoughts and opinions. So let's begin this transformative journey together. Course outline. Before we dive into the content, let me give you a roadmap of where we are going. Think of this course as your GPS for our journey through human rights education. First, we'll start with the general introduction to human rights, setting the stage for everything that follows. Then we will ask the fundamental question, what are human rights? This might seem simple, but as we'll discover, it's a profound question. Next, we'll explore why study human rights, because understanding the why helps us to appreciate the importance of what we are learning. When we are done with that, we will then examine the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, which is arguably the most important document in human rights history. After that, we'll discuss rights and responsibilities, because these are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. Then we'll bring it all home with human rights in daily life, making these concepts concrete and relatable through real-world examples. Finally, we will look at human rights challenges around the world, understanding that despite our progress, significant work remains to be done. This lecture will take us from theory to practice, from abstract principles to concrete reality. Learning objectives. Now, let's talk about what we will be able to do by the end of this course. These aren't just things you'll memorize, they are skills and understandings you'll develop. First, you'll be able to define rights in clear, accessible terms, then explain why human rights are universal and inalienable, describe the relationship between rights and human rights dignity, explore the balance between individual freedoms and collective welfare, understanding duties towards community and society, identify ways personal actions impact other rights, examine the UDHR's 30 articles and their significance, explore other important human rights instruments, understanding how international law projects rights. Learning outcomes. You will be able to articulate clear definitions of human rights and explain their significance in both historical and contemporary contexts. They will demonstrate understand of why rights matter for individual communities and societies, using relevant examples and evidence to support their situations. Students will describe and differentiate between the main categories of human rights: civil rights, such as freedom of speech and fair trial; political rights, including voting and political participation; economic rights, like fair wages and employment; social rights, such as health, care, and housing, and the cultural rights, including language and religious practice. Students will explain the various roles that governments, international organizations, civil society, and individuals play in protecting and promoting human rights. They will understand accountability structures and the importance of checks and balances in rights protection. Introduction to human rights. Now we'll begin our journey in earnest. Welcome to what I call an empowering journey to the world of human rights. This comprehensive guide we're working through is designed to specifically introduce students to the fundamental concepts, principles, and practices that form the foundation of human rights and human dignity and justice worldwide. Notice I said foundation of human dignity and justice. These aren't just abstract legal concepts. They're about how we treat each other, how we structure our societies, and what kind of world we want to live in. Here is something crucial to understand. Human rights education is not merely an academic exercise. Let me repeat that. It's not just about passing a test or getting a grade. It's fundamentally transformative experience. What does that mean? It means this education has the power to change you, to change how you see the world, and ultimately to change the world itself. This education equips you, young people, that's you, with the knowledge, skills, and values necessary to become active, informed global citizens. Knowledge means understanding what rights are. Skills means knowing how to advocate for them and protect them. Values means internalizing the principles of dignity, equality, and justice that make you want to use that knowledge and those skills. The goal isn't to create better students who can recite the articles of the UDHR. The goal is to empower active citizens who recognize injustice, understand their own rights and their responsibilities, and have the courage and the capability to make a difference in their communities and beyond. It's ambitious, yes, but it's also essential because the future of human rights depends on each generation taking up the torch and carrying it forward. Throughout this learning material, students will explore what human rights are, why they matter in our interconnected world, and how they can contribute to building more just and equitable communities. From understanding historical milestones like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to examining contemporary challenges and solutions, this source provides a structured pathway for meaningful engagement. With human rights concepts, students will develop critical thinking skills, learn to analyze complex social issues, and discover their own capacity to effect positive change in their communities and beyond. This last point is so important. Too often people feel powerless in the face of justice. They think, what can I do? I'm just one person. But throughout history, change has come from individuals who've refused to accept that powerlessness. This education helps you discover that you have more power than you think. Power to influence your immediate community, power to advocate, power to educate others, power to stand up for those whose rights are violated. You are not just learning about human rights, you are becoming human rights defenders. Chapter 1. What are human rights? Now we arrive at our first major question. What are human rights? Let's build a comprehensive understanding together. Human rights are the basic rights and freedoms that belong to every person in the world, from birth until death. These rights are inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. They are not privileges that can be granted or revoked. They are inalienable enlightenments that form the foundation of human dignity. The word dignity is crucial. What is dignity? Is the inherent worth and the value that every human being possesses. Is the idea that your life matters, that you deserve respect, that you should be treated as an end in yourself and not merely as a means to someone else's ends. Human rights protect and promote dignity. When we talk about rights being inalienable, we mean they cannot be transferred to someone else and they cannot be separated from you. You cannot sell your human rights. No one can buy them from you. They're yours permanently and irrevocably, simply by virtue of being human. Human rights encompasses a broad spectrum of protections and freedoms, ranging from the right to life and liberty to the right to work, education, and an adequate standard of living. These rights are independent and indefensible, meaning that the fulfillment of one right often depends on the fulfillment of others, and no right can be truly enjoyed without the others. For instance, your right to political participation, voting, running for office, engaging uh, in civic life depends sustainably on your right to education. If you cannot read, if you haven't learned about how political systems work, how can you meaningfully participate? Your right to work depends on your right to freedom from discrimination. Your right to death, your right to health depends on your right to food, water, and shelter. We cannot say, well, you have freedom of speech, so we don't need to worry about your right to food. A starving person cannot fully exercise their freedom of speech. They're too focused on survival. Person denied education cannot fully enjoy their political rights. Person lacking adequate housing and healthcare cannot fully develop their potential. This interconnection means we must approach human rights historically. We cannot pick and choose, saying some rights matter more than others. All rights matter. All rights support each other. All rights work together to create conditions for human flourishing. Core principles. Let me introduce you to the core principles that underpin all human rights. Think of these as the foundation stones upon which the entire structure of human rights rests. First, dignity. This is recognition of inherent worth and value in every human being. Every person, regardless of their ability, their achievements, their status, their background, has inherent dignity. You don't earn dignity. You don't lose dignity. It's inherent. It's a part of what makes you human. This principle says that every human life has value, every human deserves respect, every human matters. Secondly, equality. All people are equal in rights without discrimination. This doesn't mean everyone is identical. We're clearly not. We have different talents, different challenges, different backgrounds, but in terms of our fundamental human rights, we are absolutely equal. No one has more rights to life than to another. No one has more right to freedom than another. No one has more right to dignity than another. Equality means that differences in race, gender, religion, nationality, social status, or any other category cannot justify treating people's fundamental rights differently. Third, fairness. This means justice treatment and impartial processes for all. When systems make decisions that affect people, legal systems, educational systems, economic systems, those processes must be fair. They must not favor some people over others based on irrelevant characteristics. Everyone deserves fair hearing, fair consideration, fair treatment, fairness in how equality gets implemented in practice. Fourth, freedom. This is the liberty to think, express, and act without ethical bounds. Notice it's not unlimited freedom, it's freedom with ethical bounds. Why? Because my freedom to swing my fist ends at your nose, as the saying goes, our freedom must be experienced in ways that respects others' rights and freedoms. But within those ethical boundaries, we should have maximum liberty to think our human thoughts, express our own opinions, make our own choices, and live our own lives. Fifth, justice. This means protection under the law and access to remedies. When rights are violated, there must be accountability. There must be ways to seek redress. There must be a legal system that protects rights and punish violations. Justice means no one is above the law and everyone has access to legal protection. These five principles, dignity, equality, fairness, freedom, and justice, for the philosophical foundation of human rights. Every specific right will discuss flows from these fundamental principles. The universal nature of human rights is perhaps their most defining characteristic. These rights apply to everyone, everywhere, transcending borders, cultures, and circumstances. Whether you live in a bustling metropolis or a remote village, whether you are young or old, rich or poor, human rights belong to you simply because you are human. This universality is both beautiful and challenging. It's beautiful because it recognizes our common humanity across all differences. It says that underneath all the things that make us different, our languages, our customs, our beliefs, our nationalities, we share something fundamental, our humanity. And that shared unity entitles us all to the same basic rights and freedoms. But it's also challenging because it requires us to care about people who are very different from us, who live very, very far away, who will never meet, It requires to recognize that someone on the other side of the world, someone who doesn't look like us or speak our language or share our religion or culture, has exactly the same fundamental rights we do. Their dignity matters just as much as ours. This universality is what allows us to condemn human rights violations anywhere in the world. We can say that's wrong, not because it violates our laws or our customs, but because it violates universal human rights that belong to all people everywhere. Why study human rights? The study of human rights provides essential context for understanding our modern world and our place within it, the historical roots of contemporary human rights frameworks trace back to the aftermath of World War II, when the international community witnessed unprecedented atrocities and resolved to establish a common standard of achievement for all peoples and the nations in 1948. The United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, making a pivotal movement in human history when nations came together to articulate a shared vision of dignity, equality, and justice for all. For the first time, the international community formally agreed on a comprehensive set of rights belonging to all human beings. This was revolutionary. Never before had such a statement been made at the global level with such broad consensus. We study human rights because this history matters. Understanding where these concepts came from helps us appreciate why they're important and why we must defend them. This historical milestone represented more than just words on paper. It embodied humanity's collective aspiration to prevent future atrocities and build a world where every person could live with dignity and security. The UDHR emerged from the ashes of war, genocide, and oppression, representing global commitment that such horrors should never be repeated. Understanding this historical context helps students appreciate why human rights matter and why they remain relevant today. We're not studying human rights out of abstract academic interest. We're studying them because they represent humanity's attempt to learn from our darkest moments and create standards that protect human dignity. We're studying them because violations continue to occur, and we must be able to recognize them and respond. Every generation must recommit to human rights. Every generation must learn why they matter. That's why you're here studying this material. You're part of continuing this commitment into the future. Then let's move to the 4 reasons why human rights matter. Foundation for peace. Human rights provide the essential building blocks of for peaceful coexistence, reducing conflict through recognition of shared humanity and mutual respect. Just societies, rights frameworks establish standards of fairness, accountability, and equality that enable communities to thrive and propose together. Everyday relevance, from accessing education to expressing opinions freely. Human rights shape daily experiences and opportunities in tangible, meaningful ways. Global citizens understanding rights cultivates awareness of our an interconnected world and our shared responsibility to protect dignity and justice for all people. We don't live in isolation. We are a part of global community. What happens in one community affects others. Climate change doesn't respect borders. Economic crisis spread globally. Refugees follow cross continents. Understanding human rights helps us see these connections and recognize that we have responsibilities not just to people near us, but to humanity as a whole. This is what it means to be a global citizen, to understand that your actions have ripples and that human dignity matters everywhere, not just in your immediate community. Everyday relevance and global citizenship. Studying human rights connects directly to everyone and everyday life and the concept of global citizenship. In our increasingly interconnected world, decisions made in one country can impact lives across the global. Human rights education empowers students to understand these connections, recognize their role in the global community, and develop the knowledge and skills needed to contribute positively to society at local, national, and international levels. At the local level, you learn to recognize discrimination in your community and speak against it. You learn to support vulnerable neighbors and stand up for those whose voices aren't heard. At the national level, you learn to participate in democratic processes, to hold leaders accountable, to advocate for just policies. At the international level, you develop awareness of global challenges and your potential role in addressing them. This education transforms you from someone who simply lives in the world to someone who shapes the world. That's the power of human rights education. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights stands as one of humanity's most significant achievements, a document that has shaped the course of history and influenced countless lives since its adoption on December 10, 1948, created in the wake of the World War II's devastating atrocities. The UDHR represents the international community's collective determination to establish a common standard of rights and freedoms for all people, regardless of where they live or who they are. Let me recognize this. For the first time in human history, nations from every region of the world, representing different cultures, regions, political systems, and economic structures, came together and agreed on fundamental principles about how humans must be treated. This was unprecedented. Never before had such a comprehensive global consensus been reached on human rights. The UDHR says, in effect, despite all our differences, and we have many, we can agree on this. We can agree that that every human being has inherent dignity and certain inalienable rights. We can agree on what those rights are. We can agree that respecting these rights is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. This is why I call it one of humanity's most significant achievements. It represents our better angles, our capacity to learn from history, and our commitment to a more just future. Drafting and translation. Drafted by representatives from diverse legal and cultural backgrounds from all regions of the world, the UDHR was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris. Eleanor Roosevelt, who chaired the drafts committee, called it the International Magna Carta for all mankind. The declaration has since been translated into more than 500 languages, making it the most translated document in the world, a testament to its universal relevance and enduring importance. You can read the UDHR in English, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, Hindi, Swahili, indigenous languages, in endangered languages, and hundreds more. This massive translation effort reflects the commitment to making the UDHR accessible to everyone, everywhere, in their own language. Think about what this means. Someone in a remote village can read about their rights in their mother tongue. A refugee can learn about protections they entitled to in a language that they understand. An activist can invoke the UDHR authority in their own words. This accessibility is crucial because rights. The people do not know about the rights they cannot claim. Key articles of the UDHR. Right to life and liberty. Article 3. Everyone has a right to life, liberty, and security of person, forming the fundamental basis for all other rights and freedoms. Right to education. Article 26. Everyone has the right to education, which shall be free and compulsory in elementary stages, promoting understanding and tolerance. Freedom of speech. Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinions and expression, including freedom to hold opinions and seek information. Equality before law. Article 7. All are equal before the law and entitled to equal protection without discrimination of any kind. This means the law must apply equally to everyone, a rich person and a poor person accused of the same crime must be treated the same way. A man and a woman seeking legal protection must receive equal consideration. No one, not prisons, not billionaires, not celebrities, is above the law, and everyone, including society's most marginalized members, is entitled to law's protection. These four articles give you a sense of the UDHR's scope. It covers everything from the most basic right to life to the complex social right to education, from freedom of thought and expression to equal treatment under law. Together, the 30 articles create a comprehensive vision of human rights. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reasons and conscience, and should act toward one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 1, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Let's unpack this powerful statement word by word because each element matters. All human beings, not some, not most, but all, every single person, no exceptions, no qualifications, based on race, nationality, religion, gender, or any other category, are born free and equal. You don't earn freedom and equality. You do not achieve them. You are born with them. They are your birthright simply by virtue of being a human and not just free, but also equal from the very beginning. All humans have equal status in terms of their fundamental dignity and rights. In dignity and rights, these are things go together. Dignity is that inherent worth everyone human has. Rights are the protection and the freedoms that follow from the dignity. You cannot have rights without dignity, and dignity requires rights to protect it, to be protected. They are endued with reason and conscious. This is the UDHR's explanation for why humans have rights. We have the capacity for rational thought. We can reason, think, analyze, understand. We have conscious. We can distinguish right from wrong. We have moral sense. These capacities make us moral agents, beings who can understand rights and responsibilities and should act towards the spirits of brotherhood. Here is the responsibility that comes with rights. We should treat each other as a family, as a kin, with care and respect. Brotherhood here means kinship, solidarity, mutual concern. It means recognizing that we are all part of human family and we owe each other consideration and respect. The single article, Article 1, encapsulates so much of what human rights are about. It grounds rights in human dignity, establishes universality and equality. It links rights with responsibilities. It appeals to our capacity for reason and the moral judgment, and it sets an aspirational tune. This is how humans should act toward each other. Every time I read this article, I'm struck by how much wisdom is packed into these few words. This is the foundation upon which all the other articles rest. The UDHR's broader impact. The UDHR's significance extends far beyond its original adaptation. It has served as a foundation for numerous international human rights treaties, national constitutions, and legal frameworks around the world. Declarations, 30 articles over uh, 30 articles cover a comprehensive range of rights from civil and political rights to economic, social, and cultural rights, creating an integrated vision of human dignity that recognizes the interconnection between different types of freedom and protections. Today, the UDHR continues to inspire movements for justice, guide policy decisions, and provide hope to millions fighting for recognition of their fundamental rights. When activists campaign against discrimination, they invoke the UDHR, when courts decide cases involving rights, they reference the UDHR. When governments design policies, they ideally consider their obligations under the UDHR and related treaties. When people suffer oppression, the UDHR provides a standard they can point to and say, this is wrong, I have rights that are being violated. The UDHR is a living document. It continues to shape our world more than 75 years after its adoption. Rights and responsibilities, two sides of the same coin. One of the most important concepts in human rights is education. Education is understanding that rights and responsibilities are inextricably linked. While we are all entitled to certain fundamental rights simply by virtue of being human, the enjoyment of these rights depends on our willingness to respect and uphold the rights of others. This reciprocal relationship forms the foundation of functional, harmonious societies where individual freedoms and collective welfare coexist and reinforce each other. Reciprocal means it goes both ways. I respect your rights, you respect mine. It's mutual. And when this reciprocity exists throughout society, something beautiful happens. Individual freedom and the community well-being reinforces each other, then conflicting. Let me illustrate this with examples. You have the right to education, but with that right comes the responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. Not to disrupt others' education, not to bully classmates, not to prevent teachers from teaching, not to vandalize school facilities. You have the right to freedom of expression, but with the right comes the responsibility not to use speech to harm others, not to spread malicious lies, not to incite violence, not to harass or threaten. You have the right to privacy or privacy. But with that right comes the responsibility to respect others' privacy, not to spy on people, not to share their private information, not to invade their personal space. So we see this pattern. Each right brings with its corresponding responsibilities. This isn't a burden. It's actually what makes rights sustainable. If we all claimed rights without accepting any responsibilities, society would become chaotic and rights would become meaningless. But when we understand that respecting others' rights is the flip side of claiming our own, we create the conditions where everyone's rights can flourish. This is fundamental shift in thinking for many people. We often hear a lot about our rights, but less about our responsibilities. Human rights education emphasizes both equally. Now let's rights we claim. Freedom to express our thoughts and opinions, protection of our personal information, the privacy, access to education and opportunities for growth, fair treatment under law without discrimination, safety and security in our communities. You expect to be able to walk down the street without being attacked. You expect police to protect you rather than harm you. You expect to live without fear or arbitrary violence. This is based on your right to security of person. These are rights you claim verbally daily, often without even thinking about it. But remember, these are rights you can only fully enjoy if others respect them. If everyone around you violated your privacy, discriminated against you, threatened your safety, your rights would be meaningless. That's why responsibilities matter just as much as rights. Responsibilities we bear. Respect others' right to express differing viewpoints, protect the privacy and the confidential information of others, support equitable access to education for all, treat others fairly and challenge discrimination, contribute to community safety and well-being. Notice how each of these responsibilities directly corresponds to a right we discussed earlier. This is the reciprocity I mentioned. Claiming rights entails accepting responsibilities. Both are essential. Freedom of speech. 3 examples of rights, responsibilities, balance. Freedom of speech. You have the right to express your opinions freely, but this must be balanced with respect for others' dignity and reputations. Free speeches does not include the right to spread hateful messages or deliberately false information that harms others. Privacy rights. You have the right to privacy in your personal life, but you must also respect the privacy of others. This means not sharing others' private information without consent and respecting boundaries in physical and digital spaces. Community participation. You have the right to participate in your community and its decisions, but this comes with the responsibility to engage constructively, listen to diverse perspectives, and work together the common good rather than solely personal interests. Participation isn't just about showing up and demanding what you want. It's about listening as well as speaking. It's about considering others' needs as well as your own. It's about being willing to compromise when appropriate. It's about seeking solutions that benefit the community as a whole rather than just your particular group. Your responsibility is to be a constructive participant, not just a demanding claimant. These 3 examples show the rights and responsibilities aren't in conflict. They are complementary. Each right comes with corresponding responsibilities that make the right sustainable and meaningful. Understanding these or this balance between rights and responsibilities helps students develop ethical reasoning and social awareness. It moves human rights education beyond simple catalog of enlightenments to more nuanced understanding of how individuals and communities can thrive together. When we recognize that our rights are secured not just by laws but by mutual respect and active protection of others' rights, we become more thoughtful citizens capable of building stronger, more intensive communities. This understanding is particularly crucial in our interconnected world, where our actions, whether online or offline, can have far-reaching impacts on others near and far. In this interconnected reality, the old thinking of my actions only affect me is simply false. Everything you do has ripples. Understanding rights and responsibilities together helps you navigate this interconnected world more ethically. It helps you think about the consequences of your actions, consider who might be affected, and make choices that respect the rights and dignity of others, including others you will never meet. Hmm. Human rights in daily life, concrete examples. Human rights might seem like abstract concepts discussed in international forums and legal documents, but they fundamentally shape our everyday experiences in profound and practical ways. From the moment we wake up to the time we go to sleep, human rights influence our opportunities, our interactions, and our equality of life. Understanding these concrete manifestations helps students recognize the real world relevance of rights and their direct impact on individuals and community. This is why I'm about to spend time on specific examples. I want you to see how human rights are woven into the fabric of the existence, how they're not abstract principles but practical realities that make the differences between a life of dignity and a life of deprivation or oppression. Right to education, access. Every child should have the opportunity to attend school regardless of their family's economic status, gender, disability, or ethnic background. Quality. Education should be of sufficient quality to enable students to develop their full potential, acquire knowledge, and develop critical thinking skills necessary for meaningful participation in society. Free primary education for all children, accessible schools with adequate families, trained teachers, and appropriate learning materials, safe, inclusive learning environments. When these elements of access and equality are present, the right to education is being fulfilled. When they're absent, this fundamental right is being violated, and the consequences of that violation extend throughout a person's entire life. Limited opportunities, restricted economic prospects, inability to fully participate in civic life. That's why education is such a crucial human right. Freedom from discrimination, race. No one should face prejudice, exclusion, or differential treatment based on their racial or ethnic identity. This includes equal opportunities in employment, housing, and public services. gender. All people, regardless of gender identity, deserve equal rights, opportunities, and treatment in all aspects of life, from wages to leadership positions. Religion. Individuals have the right to practice their faith freely without fear or persecution, while also respecting other religions, beliefs, and practices, or choose not to follow any religion. But we also have the right not to practice in religion. You can be, astaghfirullah, atheist, agnostic, or simply non-religion or non-religious without facing discrimination, astaghfirullah. And you have the responsibility to respect others' religious rights. You cannot use your religion as a justification to violate others' rights. You cannot force your religious beliefs on others. You cannot discriminate against people whose religion differs from yours. And Allah تبارك وتعالى said in His holy book, لكم دينكم ولي دين. You have your religion, you have your way, and I have my way. Amen. And then he said in the Holy Quran as well, فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر. So you have the power to be a Muslim or not. It's your own choice. It's your own option. Okay. So religious freedom is about pluralism, the ability of diverse religious communities and the non-religious people to coexist peacefully, each respecting the other's rights. This is challenging because people as religious beliefs often involve claims about ultimate truth, and they can feel threatened by other beliefs. But human rights require that we find ways to live together despite deep religious differences, respecting everyone's right to conscience and belief. Right to participate in government, voting. Adults adult citizens have the right to participate in free and fair elections, choosing their representatives and influencing the direction of their community and their country through democratic processes. Civic engagement. Beyond the voting, people have the right to engage with government through public consultations, peaceful assembly, forming association, and expressing opinions on public matters, access to information about environment activities, freedom to join political parties or movements, rights to peaceful protest and demonstration, ability to petition a government for change. All of these elements of political participation are essential for democracy to function. Democracy isn't just about voting every few years, it's about ongoing engagement between citizens and government. Your right to participate means you can be an active shaper of your society's direction, not just a passive subject. Um, These examples represent just a fraction of how human rights manifest in daily life. Other everyday rights include access to healthcare, fair working conditions, adequate housing, clear water, freedom of movement, and the right to participate in cultural life. When these rights are protected and fulfilled, individuals can live with dignity, develop their capabilities, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. Conversely, when rights are violated or denied, the impacts ripple through every aspect of people's life, limiting opportunities, and undermining well-being. By understanding these concrete examples, students can better recognize rights violations when they occur and advocate more effectively for themselves and others. This is practical knowledge. It equips you to see injustice, name it accurately, and respond appropriately. It helps you understand what you're entitled to and what others are entitled to. It empowers you to be both self-advocate and ally to others whose rights are violated. So we'll stop here. Human rights challenge around the world, because we will continue starting with this next session, inshallah, tomorrow. Until next time, ta for now.